Okay.
Yeah, when it's flashing, it's recording.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so starting out, I kind of wanted to go over kind of something that it's going to be obvious whenever you see it. You'll obviously notice that there's a lot more issues in here than there are solutions. That was done for a reason. If I was to answer every single one of the issues that I saw, first off, we'd be here for forever. And second, I didn't really want to overwhelm y'all with all the solutions that I truly wanted to implement.
You sound so much like me right now. This is how bad you suck. It's so bad, I can't deal with all this at one time.
David, please.
Or a heart attack before it even starts.
Cut him some slack.
So my thought process was behind it was, if I give you every issue and the solution thereof, it would be like filling up your tank full of gasoline, okay? And then adding another 20 gallons to it. You have what you need to go far, but there's so much excess to it that you don't know where to start, what to do with it. So for me, I had to risk not giving you all the solutions to save you from not implementing anything at all because you didn't know where to start. So going over this, the overview and goals, as they have mentioned before, my number one goal, to discuss my findings, ultimately showing you the perspective I had amidst our discussions and talks, phone calls, everything that we've gone over amidst our meetings, to discuss the issues, why they're prevalent in the business, and the solutions as to how I would suggest y'all go about them. To discuss the implementation and the before mentioned solutions, and to answer any questions that y'all have. And feel free, if y'all do have any questions, concerns.
Can we get you to speak a little bit louder because it's hard to hear you back here? Sorry.
Talk louder.
How about that, her flipping the table on you?
Oh no, that'd probably be better. So to go on, before we start, my task this year in Entrepreneur University was, what do you have a question? Oh. My task this year was to meet with the business with day-to-day cleaning. And with the information that I have been given from the past 4 years, I was to find the core issues from the business and to find the solutions for y'all to implement. So I was to be the catalyst while y'all were mid-plateau. So here are my findings from what we've discussed. Time management. As we talked, you had mentioned that you'd had some issues with time management with the business when it came to implementing systems, along with some personal issues. I'd asked what made you think you had that issue. And you had mentioned that you saw yourself as somewhat of a flighty person, very inconsistent in that manner. And that you in general with having the ability to not implement those systems, you felt that you were not smart enough because you were too old. And that's not the case. It's truly not. And I'm going to go over it as we go on. But money management. When you own a business, your goal is to make a profit. In order to make a profit, you need to track your P&L, which is crucial in any business, not just a few. Along with separation of business with personal life. Now, I'm not saying that you need to separate your business and personal life in the relational and personal aspects, but in the aspects of money management, there needs to be a separation. Money management is a very sensitive issue in and of itself anyway, and that is why with any business, they need to have a proper system in place to be able to implement those capabilities and accomplish what they want to accomplish. And they need to have the correct person or people in place to be able to implement those. Working in versus on. In your first several years of business, you solely use paper files, partially because things were just beginning to get technical and in the world, and partially because that's what you grew up with. That's what you found familiar. And as you brought Stephanie on, Stephanie took over a lot of those managerial processes, this tasks that you were dealing with, and leaving you to work on the business. So right now, you are currently working out in the field. You work in your business dealing with money management, and as time has gone on, you've continued to work within the business. So working in a business it means that the owner or leader is continually doing the day-to-day processes, the day-to-day minutia to do what they seem is keeping the business afloat, when in reality, they're staying stagnant. They're not growing. Even so, make sure. So working on your business is more than just the physical business, okay? It's a mindset. You are the business in its physical form. It's not just an office or a building, even though it is those things in and of itself. You have to continually grow and develop yourself to be able to grow the business in every aspect. So even though the business is you, it's also part of the physical space. So in order to work on the systems, it's very key to work on the systems. But not just for you. It's for your employees, customers, your target market. Systems and structures. As we continue to talk, I wanted to see how you handled most of the day-to-day systems. And so while trying to see if you would implement any systems or structures, I suggested Google Calendars, along with possibly working on your P&L. So while trying to see if you would implement those systems, I came to find that it took a lot of time and convincing to actually see any improvement or implementation, which I felt wasn't only an issue with time management, but with the implementation itself. But as we talked, I found it wasn't just those issues at face value. It was the fear behind it. So there are a lot of business owners that have worked so hard to build up their business. And I understand where you'd be coming from with the hesitancy to grow or do what you don't understand is going to happen. So whenever you fail to grow yourself or your business, then it becomes more difficult to see the potential that the business has. You cannot see the picture whenever you're in the frame. So, separation. So in a similar boat to money management, I found that there was something which I found initially was somewhat troubling. You as the business owner do not currently pay yourself in the typical sense. Whenever, when something is necessary, the money is transferred from your business account to your personal account. You, as I've come to the conclusion, primarily do this because of the lack of value which you've understood or seen in yourself. Because you don't know your current profitability, and you have found it very hard to implement certain systems, such as the P&L statement or whatever else I've suggested. Such as the Google Calendars or any other systems such as I'm going to go over. So while most business owners pay themselves in a few different ways, either hourly, percentage, profitability, and several other ways, what works best for you isn't hourly. It's not hourly. Because it's impossible to track your current circumstance with how you are very flighty in that aspect. It's not a bad thing in some ways. It's very difficult to track. So when I talk about separation, I look at it from the perspective of the separation of your business and personal life. Okay? While they should be mixed in certain aspects, it's not the same life, especially when it comes to money. Employee consideration. So when dealing with employees, we discussed the issues they've personally had when hiring, connecting, and leading your employees. When you think of hiring, you think of the different sites and systems that people have made and used to find the best candidates for the job, such as Facebook or Indeed, things of that sort, which very beneficially helps people. And now, I know you've tried to use some systems and they haven't really worked in your favor, mostly because you've said that one, not many people are interested in the job, or two, you said that you didn't really understand how to use it, so you improperly used it. One of those is a valid point, okay? Is a valid point. So you truly didn't understand how to use the system, so it wasn't really beneficial to the business at the time, okay? The other point is unacceptable, honestly. So there are so many people in this world, okay? So many people need jobs. They don't know what or who to turn to. Now, I'm not just saying to go up to the next homeless person and say, "You're hired." But you have to look at it from the standpoint of employees look for growth in whatever they're in, okay? They want to be valued. They want to be supported in whatever they're going through. So whenever you think of it this way, business owners may hire employees, but employees pick and choose their leaders. Leadership management. When I talked with you as a leader, when I talked with you about your leadership capabilities and how you respond to certain situations and how you grow yourself, you mentioned that you don't typically have time here lately to actually implement anything. And when you do, it begins to slip away and you lose your grasp on everything. So when you manage to sit through something, a teaching, book, or anything that helps you grow, you seem to forget and lose the understanding you thought you had. Mindset, consistencies, and beliefs. So as you've asked over and over, I don't really see how this conversation is going to help towards the end goal, to help fix anything. And while some of those questions have led to dead ends, more often than not, they've led to the best solutions. And when we have talked about some of the ways that you think about certain issues and systems and time, and even your skills as a leader, I've heard you say time after time, "I'm not a good leader. I'm not good at implementing systems. And I can't learn the same way I did as when I was younger." And there have been many other instances that have been brought up, but as I've found, you actually believe all those things about yourself. And for who knows how long. Therefore, that mindset has caused several issues in the business. So the issues. The main issue, which I've come to find, is belief system. Okay, a hard issue. What you say and believe about yourself will come to pass. I'm not a good leader. I'm bad at implementing systems. Because there's power in your words, that will come to pass. When your thought process defines who you are, then you realize that if growth isn't the forefront, then you will not change your mindset. Your perspective creates your reality. A hard issue is something that takes an instant to form, but some time to remove. As we've talked, I've heard you say several times that you can't do this, I'm not good a leader. And Therefore, there have been many other times that you've said that. And the fact is, like I mentioned up here, your perspective, what you say has power. Therefore, it will come to pass. If you change the way you talk about yourself, the way you look at issues that come up as small stepping stones, then it'll become much more manageable. There's a story which I found it related very well to the same type of issues that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. But I kind of wanted to first go over the other issues before I went into the story. So the secondary issue, which is self-confidence and self-worth issue. So because of the mindset that you've given yourself, lower confidence and lower self-worth stems from that main issue. Because you don't have the confidence to price higher, because you do not have the understanding of what business worth or your personal worth is, you find it hard to give yourself a paycheck. Primarily due to one, you not knowing if you have the money. Two, you don't know how or what to pay yourself. And three, it feels wrong to pay yourself because you don't see the value. When I've mentioned to you about the worth of the business and the worth of yourself, you found it somewhat troubling and difficult to comprehend. And you didn't really know what it was or what it even could be. This isn't 100% on you, by the way. Some things are hard to avoid in general. Because you didn't have the proper systems in place to create a P&L, or you didn't know how, or if you could pay yourself along with improving the business and giving your employee raises, it was difficult for you. The confidence issue, I've seen from what your processes are and the way you handle things, you find it difficult to price yourself, which is part of the self-worth, although you find it difficult to raise your prices with contractors or any other customers because of that fear that you'll lose the business. Fear of failure. Everyone does fear failure. Some understand that better than others, and fear can only take hold of your life if you allow it, okay? That does have a part in the mindset issue. And if you do allow it, then it does create several issues and symptoms. So I want to go over that first. Some understand that better than others. And as I've seen, it took several weeks to implement some of the systems I suggested, such as Google Calendars or even the working on QuickBooks. But because you needed to see the value, what could come of it, and why it would help your business, you didn't want to see your business fail in any area, no matter how small. And that's not a bad trait, don't worry about that. But the fear of the unknown, which affects your day-to-day actions, negatively causes growth to stop, is what I'm trying to convey as this issue. So as I mentioned earlier, there was an incredible story which I've had the pleasure of finding, which is this article which basically goes over these issues all at once. And so I'm going to go ahead and read this for y'all. So in the 1970s, there was an electrician in Philadelphia. The man's job was to install freezing cases in supermarkets. You know, the long aisles with the glass doors where you pick up your ice cream and frozen pizza. To set up his own little workshop, the man bought an old bakery. One summer, he decided to rebuild the front wall. It was made of bricks about 16 feet high and 30 feet long. And after he had torn down the old facade, he called his two sons to the site. They were 12 and 9 years old at the time, and he told them they were now in charge of creating the new wall. The boys' first task was to dig a 6-foot hole for the foundation. Then they filled it with concrete, which they had to mix by hand. So clearly, this wasn't just a job for the summer holidays. So for the next year and a half, every day after school, the boys went to their father's shop to build the wall. To the younger brothers, it felt like forever, as I'm sure it would to everybody. But eventually they laid the final brick. When their dad came to audit what they had done, the three of them stood back and looked at what the result was. There it was, a brand new 16 by 30 foot wall. The man looked at his sons, and he said, "Do not ever tell me that you can't do anything." And he walked back into the shop. The electrician's name was Willard Carroll Smith. It's the name he gave his oldest son, the 12-year-old in the story. Today, we know him as Will Smith. When brick by brick, as we might call it, it's a story about the value of hard work. It's also a story about what it takes to sustain hard work in the first place. When Will told that story on a talk show, he said that it affects how he works to this day. I think psychologically, the advantage that gives him over a lot of people that he's been in competition with in different situations is it's difficult to take the first step when you look at how big the task is. The task is never huge to him. It's always one brick. Is single-mindedness a competitive advantage, though? Probably. But in a world of abundance with enough room for millions of creatives, entrepreneurs, entertainers, it pales in comparison, especially to the ability to win the fight with the one who you're really up against, yourself. The market won't stop you. Fear will stop you. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of being feared, fear of fear itself. Fear will concoct all kinds of convenient, well-disguised symptoms like boredom, laziness, and purely psychological fatigue. Those are the real enemies you're up against, a set of abstract concepts that's in your mind. So just for a second, imagine it was all gone. Remove all the fear from your mind and what you can't do. How does that affect you? So barring physical limitations, I can still think of a few things myself. And I guarantee you, Will can't either. Rapper, TV actor, YouTuber, Hollywood superstar. His many labels defy our expectations of what one person can do. The way Will built his long list of achievements is one goal, one wall, one brick at a time. Because when all you can do is lay one brick, fear won't bother trying to get to you. That's exactly what it means to trust in the Lord. To understand that through all things, He has given you the strength to overcome any obstacle. You don't try to build a wall. You don't set out to build a wall. You don't say, "I'm going to build the biggest, baddest, best wall that's ever been built in the world." You're going to say, "I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid." There's not going to be one brick on the face of this earth that's laid better than this brick that I'm going to lay. You do that every single day, and soon you'll have a successful business. So, solutions. Suggest. Attain an accountability partner and system. So finding a person and a system that you trust will hold you accountable for your actions. Someone who you know is knowledgeable in the Word, who understands the truth in the Word, and someone who desires to grow you is something that most people forget to find in people. They forget to see beyond the face value. Accountability partners and systems help in every aspect of life, with every situation and every aspect in general. The way I came to the solution of attaining this was I wanted to try to find the best way to change your mindset from "I can't" to "I can." And I will. Without giving you 1,000, 10,000, a million books to read, I wanted to make sure that you found the best way for you to grow yourself. When we say things about ourselves that are either positive or negative, they come into existence, like I mentioned. Because of the power in your words, I myself have tried to implement this into my life, and Sometimes it's very difficult. I understand that at times. We all live in an imperfect world. We all face these issues, but the determination and growth to be able to overcome those obstacles needs to be overpowering. And I understand that if you try to implement it, it's going to be hard. And you'll see, as you go on, you'll find freedom, which in turn not only grow yourself, but it'll grow your business. This will only come to pass if you focus on growth. Are you desiring to change and change your mindset? If you don't want to change, then there's nothing you, me, or anybody else can do to change it. You have to be the one to initiate change. That is why I believe that implementing a system or finding someone that you trust and respect will not only help you, but it'll help you grow as a person in the way that you want to change. Systems are also very useful. They're also very consistent, unlike some people in the world that you see today. But not everyone is that way. Systems such as goals, writing down mission or vision statements, things of those sorts will help you grow in so many ways. They help you, obviously, become more accountable, but it helps to see the bigger picture rather than the single goal set in front of you. Secondary, to implement money management systems such as QuickBooks, payroll for yourself, Todoist, Google Calendar, budgeting, and delegation. When you find it hard to pay yourself or increase others' pay because of a perceived lack of value and a lack of understanding, you know that there's an issue with the way that money is managed. The way that I wanted to fix that issue is of self-worth and the lack of understanding, along with the accountability issue. I wanted to put something in place in the system those issues derived from, the money management. My belief is that once you see the value, once you see the true worth of the business, then the main issues will begin to resolve themselves. Now, it's not going to happen instantaneously, as some people may see, but it's going to take time to set goals, bring the worth back, not only to yourself, but to the business. Cultivate a growth mindset. What is it? So a growth mindset is simply the belief that our basic abilities can be developed and improved through dedication and hard work. It's not so much that the belief is some kind of magic, whether that be, it's just without a growth mindset, we don't exert the required effort, and so we remain perpetually stuck. But with a growth mindset, we can break through the stuckness and achieve the result we desire. Whether it be at work, in our relationships, or in other aspects of our lives. So this day and age, it's become more popular to allow things to come to us and not take action or develop a drive to attain what you want, attain what you desire. The same goes for attaining a growth mindset. Unless you're intentional, you want to grow and desire that mindset, then nothing will take place. You'll remain the same. You'll remain stagnant. When you're working in your business constantly and you don't have the time to work on or grow yourself, then finding the people or systems to take your place so you can focus on growth is key. If that isn't implemented, then nothing major is really going to change in any positive aspect. So, implementation. So, attaining to the core issue, accountability partner, finding someone who's right, When you're looking for the right fit, you want to find someone who you trust with your personal life issues and problems. You need someone who knows the truth about the Word and the truths that it speaks. You also want to find someone who you respect their opinion and you respect their insight and wisdom that they give you. What do you want? Well, when you find the right person, be upfront with them. Tell them what you want to achieve, what you want to gain from their insight and wisdom. Understanding that, it'll help show you that this person is willing to help you. Therefore, if you resist their assistance or you're prohibiting what you desire to have, if you resist their assistance or you are prohibiting what you desire to have, if you decide to be open, then you're setting yourself up for success and you aren't prohibiting yourself. And then don't let them take control of your actions. Basically, it's also important to realize that there's a point at where you limit their level of guidance. Some people, not all people, see an opportunity to take control of another person's actions. Although, when you trust the person that you choose as an accountability partner, you trust their morals, and you trust that what they're going to do is going to grow you and help you in a positive way. So, setting systems in place So I found an article which I believe uses a great system and process for any business. The guy that created it also has a really great perspective on the way to use it. To write everything down. To identify your personal mission statement. To reward your accomplishments. To create micro goals. To review your performance, and to seek feedback from your team. Whenever we're talking about writing everything down, you want to be, this is one thing that he takes to the extreme simply because he's a very visual person. Writing things down, writing down everything from to-do lists to short and long-term goals. It just works. He liked to see them constantly, which allows him to focus on each one. He writes his daily to-do list on multiple sticky notes and places them all over his monitor. As he completes them, he takes them off and tosses them in the trash. So, those bright colored sticky notes stares at him in the face the entire day, and his goal is to rid his monitor as quickly as possible. Derek Jansen, who founded Grad Coach, writes down both short-term and long-term goals in a journal. He says, "I like to create a plan to reach every goal, which are all a part of my big picture plan. Having them in writing and constantly looking at them results in me obsessing over them and working hard to make sure each one is accomplished." Like Jansen, his goals were written down. They're on a large whiteboard that hangs above his desk. It's literally impossible for him not to constantly look at them. They stare at him in the face while he works. To identify your personal mission statement, one person had given a very simple mission statement: to live life to the fullest, work relentlessly, to create amazing companies and brand, and give selflessly. Your personal mission statement doesn't have to be long-winded. It simply needs to define you as a person and define what it is that you're working towards each and every day. Using that one as an example, it explains who he is and what he gets out of bed why he gets out of bed every morning. Recite it in your head every morning, or print it out and hang it in your office, whatever you like best. When your mission statement fuels your fire, you know that you have found the right passions and path in life. When you reward your accomplishments and milestones, whenever he used to never take vacations. Like they've mentioned before in the previous presentations, they never took time for themselves. They never took that time to relax and unwind. He would work nonstop with very little breaks. It was so unhealthy that it had a negative impact on his life. And once he came to terms with the fact that it was not only fine to take vacations, but actually beneficial, he started to use accomplishment and milestones as indications of when he would take off and unplug to recharge. Frank Grimes, president of the Association Home Loan of Florida, feels that this approach almost forces you to get away from much needed recharge. It's very easy to make an excuse and say that you will take a longer vacation next year, but it's important to step away occasionally to regroup and just relax. Rewarding myself with a vacation and to my favorite destination helps every year remind me and helps me reach personal goals, while also feeling like the time off is well deserved. He says he too has a favorite destination, and that's Hawaii. For you, it's different. For you, it's different. Everybody has their own different destination. For him, it's the perfect setting. The beach, the feeling, and the activities. And he always returns fully recharged with new ideas. Create micro goals. Micro goals are responsible for several successful brand launches that he's been a part of. When you identify several smaller goals and commit to hitting each one, that one brick, it helps keep you accountable in the terms of overall success with the goal. When he launched an e-commerce brand in a week, it was a result of a well-thought-out plan that had several micro goals he needed to knock out of the park. Without the smaller goals identified, he would never have gotten to launch in the time frame that he needed to. Reviewing your performance. As an entrepreneur, it's important that you are brutally honest with yourself. In the end, it's you that's responsible for your success or failure. And he's constantly reviewing his own performance, and he's not afraid to tell himself when his performance is not up to par. If you really want to be held accountable, constantly keep yourself in check. As a business owner, if you start to slack and your sales slow and business is down, there isn't anyone to blame but yourself. A business owner that blames others is destined to fail because he or she would rather point fingers than review their own performance, says Ozer Tayson. Tayson is correct. Blaming someone else is an excuse that unsuccessful entrepreneurs make. If your personal performance is suffering, own up to it and commit to making a change. If you don't review your performance, who will? Seek feedback from your team. He just talked about reviewing your own performance above, and it's very effective as long as you're honest with yourself. If you want completely unbiased feedback, ask your team. You might be thinking, employees won't be completely honest with me, their feedback because they don't want to get fired. But that won't apply in most businesses, provided that you've nurtured a strong company culture with your business. Secondary, money management and leadership systems. Learn the QuickBooks systems. Invest time into finding the best way to pay yourself. Todoist, Google Calendar, budgeting, and delegation. So for learning QuickBooks systems, learning the accounting system that you currently have is something which needs to be implemented. When I tried to assist both of you in implementing a system for the P&L specifically, there was a lot of tension around that area, especially in that time frame. Now, I understand the reasoning behind it, but the tension shouldn't be because you want to prove a point. Let the tension actually drive you to be a better you, not to prove something, but to grow yourself. To invest time. Once you find the value of the business, you see the worth. Then it becomes easier to implement certain systems such as payroll, not just for the employees, but for you, which will assist in the separation of the business and personal. So Todoist, which is actually a very useful system which David uses, is an organizing application which you can set tasks and goals to which you can share with your team, connect with other apps you currently use, such as Google Calendar or Dropbox and several other systems. Todoist gives you the security and confidence that everything is organized and accounted for and in one single place. So you can make progress on the things that are important to you. With Google Calendar, as I've mentioned before, so even though there are many, many types of systems to deal with time management, you can decide what is best for you. As far as an easier customer interface, from what I've seen, Google Calendar is very versatile when dealing with managing what you need done along with different interfaces. For budgeting, as we've all heard David talk about budgeting and the 5 best ways to budget your life, which is the 10, 10, 25, 5, and 50 rule. I don't know if he's mentioned to y'all about that yet, to them yet. So we have
10
tithing, savings, education, housing, and everything else. Using that system has helped me and several other people that have implemented, not only to prepare for my future, but to help set me up for success. Now, there's going to be a little bit of a difference, well, a slightly larger difference with the business aspect of it, because the budget he mentions is primarily based on personal budgeting. When dealing with the business, there are a few steps that you can take to ensure that you're budgeting successfully. You can tally your income sources, tally your income sources, determine fixed costs, include variable expenses, predict one-time spends, pull it all together. So whenever you tally your income sources, the first element of a good business budget, is figuring out how much money you bring in on a monthly basis. Starting with your profit and loss figures, which you can view on your P&L statement from QuickBooks, is very useful. Fixed costs are expenses that are charged the same price each month. And as you can imagine, incorporating these is by far probably one of the easiest systems to put in place. Reviewing your past bank statements or QuickBooks reports, you will easily be able to spot your fixed bills and the total amount they cost in each month. To include variable expenses, items that don't have a fixed price tag each month are called variable costs. Many of these purchases can actually be scaled up or down depending on the state of your business using your monthly profit. Your profit each month will be determined by the earnings you're left with after paying all your costs. So, if your business does better than you forecasted, you can use the extra funds to increase variable spending, enabling you to grow faster. So when predicting one-time spends, a great perk of creating a budget is you now will have the ability to factor in one-time purchases better than ever before. While some of these may come up unexpectedly, such as something breaking on a vehicle, or your employees accidentally destroying a window by accident. It's very one that crashed. Others can be budgeted for a month in advance. So like that business retreat you've been eyeing, to protect your business from financial burden. So whenever you pull it all together, the first 4 steps detail the elements of a good business. So the last step is simply putting it all together. So you need to take action by using the checklist, which I've given y'all in your notes, which y'all can take a look at. You have the income sources, fixed costs, variable expenses, and the one-time spends. Those are just the top examples which I could find. So if you're going to basically relate it to your business, obviously, and whatever is best for you. And third, there. Do you have a growth mindset? Why does it matter? Understand that growth takes time. Do you believe that you were born and raised with a fixed set of skills and abilities, such as your IQ, that you have had from birth and will stay with you your entire life? Or do you believe that your ideas and beliefs are ever evolving, that you can learn new skills if you work at it, and that your wisdom and intelligence grows with each new experience? Do y'all? Which one do y'all believe?
Are you asking me?
Repeat the question.
Okay. Do you believe that you were born and raised with a fixed set of skills and abilities, such as your IQ that you've had from birth and will stay with you your entire life? Or do you believe that your ideas and beliefs are ever evolving, that you can learn new skills if you work at it, and your wisdom and intelligence grows with each new experience?
I say both. I mean, I was born with a certain set of skills. But, and that second part is true too. I can grow on those skills.
Okay. So if you said yes to the first question, then you have what most people is referred to as a fixed mindset. If you said yes to the second question, you probably have what most people would call a growth mindset. Now, don't worry if you currently have more of a fixed mindset. You can actually develop a growth mindset with some of these things I'm about to mention. Why does it matter? If we have a fixed mindset, we may shy away from challenges because we don't want to feel embarrassed or humiliated in front of others. Who does, right? But this can be problematic because of our fear of making mistakes can lead us to avoid challenges and new experiences. Experiences which would help us grow, improve ourselves in important ways, and create the life we desire. If we have a growth mindset, we enjoy challenges, despite the risk, usually because we value learning and growth more than others. Thinking we know what we're doing, and because we always trying new things, we often don't know what we're doing. Still, those of us with a growth mindset often build new skills more easily because we believe that we can, and so we readily work at it. Developing a growth mindset could contribute to a fuller, more meaningful life because of the range of experiences that such a life encompasses will be considerably broader. Understanding that growth takes time, changing one's mindset from a fixed perspective to a growth mindset may seem daunting, but by taking the baby steps, by developing it brick by brick, anyone who wants to and desires to can build a growth mindset. There are a lot of different ways to develop that mindset, but it only works if you with the intention to and desire to do it. So I'm going to go through a few different steps as to how you can actually build that growth mindset and actually focus on what you'd like to desire in life. So acknowledge and embrace imperfection in self and others, as it is the spice that makes us individuals. We all have our flaws, peculiarities, and weirdness, our imperfections. Like the small black mole on Marilyn Monroe's face, our imperfections make us unique. Face your challenges bravely. If you find yourself terrified in the face of a serious challenge, to stop. Take time and refrain from the situation in your mind. Consider your challenge as an opportunity, thus slightly shifting your perspective to make it easier for you to engage. Each challenge or opportunity invites us into a new experience that is sort of adventure. Try different tactics. Try different tactics to grow yourself about how to explore a new path, or how to develop a new skill, or even how to interact with other groups of people. You press forward anyways because it's exciting and new. If you take the same attitude with a crisis at work, or whatever the challenge is, you can discover abilities you didn't know you even possessed. Pay attention to your words and thoughts. Start to pay attention to the words you speak, even the words in your mind. If your words are low or dark, the results may be also, as we've mentioned. So watch yourself. Listen to what you're saying and thinking, and censor yourself and become your own guide. Replace negative thoughts with more positive ones to build a growth mindset. Replace judgment with acceptance, hate with compassion. If you're disrespecting yourself or lowering your ethical standards, the outcome of your decisions and their consequences will reflect that. Intend to think higher thoughts and hold yourself to it. Stop seeking approval from others. Approval from others can often prevent a growth mindset. Cultivate self-acceptance and self-approval. Learn to trust yourself. You are the only person who will always be there for you in your life, so you're the only one you need to impress. Take a step deeper into authenticity. Pretending to be someone who you're not disrespects who you truly are. It makes you a fake. It diminishes what you have to offer. Becoming truly authentic is a process that takes time and a lot of inner work. Once you do, you'll likely become more driven to pursue your true goals, which puts you in a growth mindset. Cultivate a sense of purpose. Does your life feel like it's purpose-driven? If yes, then define for yourself what that purpose enhances and encompasses. If you're drawing a blank, ask that your life's purpose become clear to you. Meditate or contemplate on purpose and see what tidbits come, perhaps part of it, then pursue it. That's what will help you build a growth mindset. Redefine genius. We all have strengths and weaknesses. Explore and appreciate your strengths, and work to improve your weaknesses. This effort can help you build a growth mindset. Turn criticism around until you find its gift. The purpose of criticism is to make things better. Someone else can see what you're doing from a slightly different perspective than you, and may have some valuable suggestions for you. And I know I've had a lot of some difficulties accepting criticism myself, especially when I've made all of my cakes that I've made, some desserts, whatever. Those criticisms help me grow as a person, help me grow as a baker in general. The same thing goes with my sister and anybody in life. She's an artist. She loves to paint. And it's hard for her to actually accept that criticism. So whenever we've tried to subtly criticize some of the things she does, she takes it the wrong way. So we've been trying to help grow that mindset of we're not trying to hurt you. We're not trying to bring you down. We're trying to help you grow. Value the process over the end result. Remember, it's the journey that matters, not the destination. Not yet is okay. When struggling with a task, remind yourself that you just haven't mastered it yet. If you stick with it, time and practice will lead to improvement. Learn from the mistakes of others. If you can learn from the mistakes of others, then you may be able to find fewer mistakes. This can sometimes calm the fear of trying new things, a key aspect of building a growth mindset. Take risks in the company of others. Try not to take yourself too seriously. Be willing to make mistakes in front of others. Because if you're growing, this is bound to happen. And making mistakes in front of others is essential. If you make a mistake, don't take it as a demote. You want to look at, what did I learn from this? How can I grow with this? What did I do here that I should implement over here? Be realistic. It takes time, sometimes a lot of time, to learn new skills, like learning a new language, learning QuickBooks, learning to implement some of these systems that I've suggested. Keep in mind that being able to implement being realistic, it takes time, as does everything else. But you need to keep that in mind whenever you're growing your mindset. Speed isn't important. When you have a growth mindset and the results are less of a focus, instead, you need to fully engage and put efforts into the process, no matter how long it takes. Incidentally, focusing on the process often also improves results because you did put a lot of effort in along the way. And then finally, own your attitude. If you see the value of having a growth mindset, then take the time and make the effort to develop it. Persistence and opportunities will come. Cultivating resilience along the way, you're remolding your mind, and that's a very interesting thing. So, in the end, I just want you to know that you are the only limit to your growth and potential. No matter what you do, God will take care of you and make sure that you're set along the right path and are given the right solutions to fix any issues. Everything is done with a purpose or intent behind it. Actions, thoughts, even people. The way we help others, grow others, and the way we allow others to grow us, you are the lid. You are the lid. You control your life. Without you, the world would be completely different. That is why we need to make the most at the time we have left. Thank you.
Questions?
Okay. About an accountability partner, like you gave some suggestions on accountability partners, who to look to.
Okay.
Except that, in my world as an expressive, it's always, like when I have a conversation with somebody, I want to find out about them and want to find out what's going on in their life.
Yes.
But if I'm talking about accountability for myself, how can it, it just seems so
It seems difficult, yes. And that's something that David's mentioned before. And since you are wanting to get to know them, you need to grow yourself to be able to understand when to take a step back, when to let others help you and grow you so you can focus on what's really important.
I think part of the point too, developing that relationship, obviously initially in a relationship you're going to want to get to know a person and find out more about them and find out, can I trust this person, do I respect this person, and some of the things that you mentioned on that. But then once you do, it's almost like a sponsor for AA, It's that person that is okay with you being able to say, hey, look, here's what I'm dealing with. What you got for me? You know, this is what I'm going through. What's going on? Yeah, it's kind of like me. Very similar to Chris. Having overseers, the people who can speak truth into my life, and I don't have the right to get defensive about it. And be able to say, hey, look, here's where you're messing up. This is what you need to work on. This is what you need to fix. And allow that person the opportunity and the privilege of being able to help guide you when you start getting off of the path that you need to be on, guide you back to that path. Obviously, everybody who does that should do it with love and grace. But on that same token, that it's that person that you trust enough to be able to say, hey, you're screwing up. You need to get this fixed. And that's where the accountability partner comes in. And with that, what I would suggest in that, and I think this is kind of what Michael was getting at with that, would be, somebody that you can schedule a conversation with. Talk to them, maybe initially every couple of days, and then after that, a couple of times a week, and then, maintain that once a week. Maintain that once a week conversation. It doesn't have to be a long conversation. It might be 20 minutes initially. It might be 2 minutes later down the road. Just that ideal. And I see that almost not just from an accountability perspective, but from that mentorship perspective. It was a conversation I had with Shay the other day, and I noticed that, sometimes it's hard to talk to you about stuff. And, of course, she immediately, the look on her face was like, what do you mean it's hard to talk to you? And I said, I can talk to you about anything, but you don't understand a lot, right? And I find that as a business owner, when you're trying to explain your struggles to people that aren't a business owner, and it's a business owner struggles, it's very difficult, right? I mean, it's kind of like a woman trying to explain a young girl trying to explain changes in her body, to a guy that's never been through something like that. You can hear it, you can sympathize with it, but you cannot empathize with it because you've never felt it, right? So there's a lot of people out there that have never felt the sleepless nights, right? They have never experienced the worry about, am I going to be able to make payroll this week, right? They've never experienced the fear of, am I going to be able to get the supplies and things that I need? The concerns about, I really want to be able to give this to these people, but I don't know how, right? I don't know if I can do that. The concerns about, this person really needs to get a raise, but financially we're not at the point where I can, and the worries and things, all of the worries and things that go along with that, right? And I told Shay, I said, the thing is I understand from a management perspective where you're coming from with a lot of the issues and challenges that you discussed. I said, but I get jealous oftentimes because there's a team, essentially your whole division of people in the same position that you are in different units that go through the same struggles you do, and you get to have lunch with those people, and you get to have conversations with those people, and you can pick up the phone and call these people and laugh and get angry and cry and all of that about the crap that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. But I don't have that, right? And so that's where that accountability partner, mentor, that kind of relationship, being vulnerable enough with a person who truly understands the crap that you deal with on a regular basis that other people don't.
It's like, how do you go solicit? How do you go solicit for an accountability partner like that, though? I mean,
Just having conversations with people.
yeah.
You'll begin to find that have conversations with people that own a business. You'll find you build those relationships, and the accountability partner type stuff is the thing that will begin to naturally happen because of it. I mean, it's no different. You text me from time to time and say, hey, can I talk? Can you talk? And it's that. Have I ever told you no?
No.
All right, then.
What about, approaching someone who is actually a competitor? Like, were you a mastermind in the same industry?
Like Clarice.
Well, I mean, and there is a lady that I talk with that, you know, she owns a cleaning business and we were, not competitive together, but we learned each other from the same company that we both started with, which was D.R. Horton. And we respect each other, but, you know, she's got a child, and so it's hard for me to, like, call her. And with Clarice, she's a personal friend, she's like a daughter to me, so, you know, trying to make her an accountability partner, it would be one of those situations where I felt like I would be, and she does, I mean, she does talk to me, but, because she's got a lot of good suggestions, she's learned well, she's done well. But again, you know, she's got her own life, how could she, you know, I don't know if she would be,
I would submit that you not find reasons why something may not work, but just start putting the feelers out. David's giving you a couple of ideas. You know somebody that may or may not be able to make time. The first thing I was thinking of is talk to some counselors at church and say, who do you know that's really grounded in the Word? And if they're a business owner, great, but grounded in the Word, who's wise and can help with this situation, not counseling for yourself, but, you know, tell them what you're looking for, who you're looking for. And I would think that over a short time or a medium time or a longer time, you might realize, you know what, this person is not really helping me, I'm not getting what I need here, and I don't feel like this is the right person. It may take a couple of false steps, false starts, to find that person that really is the one that you sync with, that can really provide value to you. And it may or may not be in your industry, I don't think that's a requirement.
And essentially, I mean, essentially that what we're thinking, accountability partner is just somebody that you allow the privilege of being able to ask you the hard questions, and you